Coming up, fast and reliable racing engines and truck exhaust that goes from mild to wild. Well, here on Motorhead Garage, we always say we love things that go, and well, we love things that make things go. These engines are all about high performance, and they come to us courtesy of Mike Lough. Now, Mike, what have you brought for us for show and tell today?
Well, today I brought two 388 cubic inch dart-based builds. These will both be around 2,000 horsepower engines once the turbos are on them and everything's set up. We've got an iron block build here. It's based off of a Dart SHP Pro block. Got Tribotex cathedral port cylinder heads. This one's got a Dart center counterweight crank. The center counterweights give it more strength and better balancing. It's got Callie's rods and diamond pistons. These are both hydraulic roller engines, so there's no maintenance as far as lashing the valves like the old school stuff. These are very reliable and there are no problems with them. We use Johnson lifters and comp cams in them. Somebody can get into one of these at a reasonable cost compared to what they might think it might be. If they want to spend a little more money, they can go with an aluminum block, which would save them about 80 to 100 pounds off the nose. But with the power they make, they usually end up adding that weight back.
And you guys are about performance,
yes,
but reliability is a big thing with you.
Absolutely, yes. There's no reason to spend your money if it's not going to last. That's what we want to do.
What are some other reasons I need to go to Mike Lough for an engine?
We do all of our machining in-house. We do all of our part sales. We've got our website. We do them on the phone. We do whatever you want through messaging, emails, Facebook messages. People come to us because we're a small shop. There's two of us. We like to focus on quality, not quantity. And it allows us to form relationships with our customers. We're not just going to take your money and, well, we're done with you, go on. So we like to form relationships. We have companies that come to us. We've reached out to companies to help develop cylinder heads like these Tribotex heads. We got with them and developed those. We work with Dart, all these companies. We work back and forth with them and bounce ideas off, and we go that route.
Well, you can do the research with the companies, but you're not depending on the customers to go out and test them and blow them up. You're actually going to sell them something that's reliable. How do you approach that when somebody comes to you and they want a combination that you haven't worked with before?
Well, there's not much we haven't worked with before. We've done a lot. We've done track testing relentlessly for years, for decades, on all kinds of combinations. The LS platform is something we really jumped into about 10 years ago. Started doing big high-power turbo builds, stock block builds. Got them, making big horsepower and living through the things that we were doing a little different than everybody else.
I love it. Let's talk about some of the stuff we have here on the table. What'd you bring for us here?
This is a 5.3, it's an L33 engine. It's a Gen 3 5.3 aluminum block engine, GM engine. This one will be going in a high RPM drift car. It's going to live on the rev limiter most of its life. They're going to run it hard. So we've got some things that we do different. I know other shops do the same things on some of this stuff, like we'll dowel the main caps to keep them from moving. This engine, we just put these bolts in to hold the caps on here, but we'll stud this bottom end. We've got some oiling modifications that we do to redirect some oil in the block. It doesn't make it priority main oiling, but it does enhance the bearing life greatly because of how the oil is redirected. I
was intrigued by that. Tell me how that works. And it's sort of your signature, so you can't show it to me because you'd have to kill me. Yeah. But give me the basic idea here over on this engine.
Say you, just for discussion, you've got 80 pounds of oil pressure here. Well, throughout your engine, there are controlled leaks. There are clearances around your bearings, your lifters, through your push rods. Everything leaks oil to go back to the pan. Well, if you've got 80 here, you might have 20 to 25 here. Well, you don't want 20 up here, 25. You want 80 all the way across. So we redirect oil to where it goes to the front, not on these blocks, but on the stock blocks, where if you've got 80 back here, you've got 80 in the front, well, then it equalizes 80 across the whole main galley. So that just helps bearing life all across, so that's why we do that. And it's been proven to work. We've done it for a long time, 10 years, and it's been working great.
Tried and true. Now, speaking of tried and true, this one will get you how many horsepower?
This one will be a naturally aspirated build, so it will be 550 horsepower at the flywheel. But if we built one like this for a turbo application, we've got several customers that make 1,300 at the tire, 1,200 at the tire reliably. Hydraulic roller, 5.3s, 6 liters, iron blocks, aluminum blocks. We'll do them all.
What if I need more horsepower than that? Then I want to upgrade here.
That's time to step into that. And for just a little bit more, you can go with this block, and it's got billet main caps, splayed caps. It's got priority main oiling, so it's true priority main oiling. It oils the mains first, and then oils the rest, you know, the lifters and everything else. That way, it's getting full pressure to the bottom end. Also, you know, it's a stronger iron than your factory iron blocks, and it's got 6-bolt cylinder head capability, which on the real high horsepower builds like this one, you can see the extra bolts, the extra studs are for better clamping force on the head gaskets. So they'll handle more boost.
So you guys make tons of power, but you make it reliably, which is the key, and I love it. You can check them out at MikeLoughRacingEngines.com. And we will be back with more Motorhead Garage presented by Top Coat right after this.
Motorhead Garage, presented by Top Coat, is brought to you by Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. Borla, the world's most winning exhaust. Mobile Environmental Solutions, the leading portable mobile paint booth. And by Top Coat. Don't just coat it, top coat it.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage presented by Top Coat. We are hanging out under a 2020 Toyota Tundra pickup truck, and these trucks are great looking. They also perform really well right out of the box, but as Keith, my friend from Dirty Deeds Industries, can tell us, there's a few little tweaks you can make to a brand new truck to make it sound and perform even better. What do you have at Dirty Deeds?
So we build bolt-on exhaust systems for Toyota Tundras. Our exhaust systems actually work with the Toyota engineering as opposed to trying to re-engineer the entire system. In order for the variable valve timing to work properly, the front of the exhaust system is a little bit restrictive. From all of this right here is all 2-inch pipe, even though it looks like it's bigger than 2 inches. They hide a piece of 2-inch pipe on the inside. So why would you make this, the rest of it, the catback, extremely huge and mess up the flow? So rather than mess up the flow like that, we take care of the main restriction point, which is the stock muffler. You can even see the different chambers that are in here and the heating that happens from those chambers. And so with that extra heating and pressure, you're losing horsepower. We can actually enhance that horsepower by removing this stock muffler and put in a flow-through design in place. And then by keeping the stock pipe size, the stock tailpipe size, we're not losing low-end torque, so you can maintain 6th gear on the highway. These systems gain 3 to 10 horsepower over stock, 10 to 20 foot-pounds of torque over stock. They sound great when you're on the throttle with multiple sound levels available. And then when you're on the highway, because of our Helmholtz resonator that we developed for these trucks, you can actually have a stock sound from inside of your truck while you go down the highway.
Well, we'll talk about how it works, but first, let's see how easy it is to bolt on. Super simple. Let's talk about the process. I gotta tell you, Keith, this looks kind of utilitarian to say the least, but every part has a purpose, including the Helmholtz resonator, which we're gonna measure for. What does that do?
So what that does is it cancels out the 130 hertz frequency that you hear as drone. So by putting that onto the back of your tailpipe, it literally shuts off that sound. It gives you the ability to have a very aggressive sound when you're on the throttle, but then once you get up on the highway and just drive normal speeds, the sound inside the truck is just like stock.
Okay, so we measure for the Helmholtz where the hole's going to be for that in the tailpipe, and then we're going to go for the rest of the system and pry off the hangers. And then we have to loosen a few bolts, not a whole lot holding this thing on, right?
Right.
And then we're going to remove the tailpipe and get that up out of the way. And now to remove the old system, it's pretty simple. You can do it yourself, but it's easier if you have a buddy to remove it from the hangers.
Yes, sir.
Now it's time to grab the new system and hang that up, and we'll put it on the same hangers. Everything is fit exactly the way the Tundra came, so you're just about ready to go. Again, having a buddy with you helps a lot, but you can do it by yourself, and you've probably done this a million times.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So the procedure I saw at the front, it doesn't look like it quite lines up, but the bolts are going to draw that in, right?
Yes, sir. So this is actually an exact duplicate as far as the dimensions of a stock system. So it's just a matter of getting the system to hang and settle correctly on the rubber grommets that's holding it up.
Cool. And once that is in, we rotate the old tailpipe out of there, take it over to the bench, and this is a little bit tricky. It's probably the trickiest part of the whole thing, but it's simple, especially if you have a friend helping you out with to dissipate the heat from the hole saw. This is where we drill the hole for the Helmholtz resonator. This whole process, by the way, only takes about 10 minutes. Now we bring the tailpipe back over to the truck and we hang that in. Only one hanger for that, so that's easy. And we bolt that on. The only thing left to do is actually hang the Helmholtz resonator back on. How close do we have to have it to the hole that we've drilled?
As long as it's pretty well centered over it, you can just eyeball it. There's no need to measure or anything like that. It's you just get it up over the hole and tighten it down as tight as you can get it, and we're good to go. It'll bounce the sound waves back into the system completely out of phase, and there's no more drone after that.
Now, the first thing that stands out with your system, 2 mufflers instead of 1. Why is that?
So the main reason is through massive amounts of R&D. I've discovered that by splitting up the 2 mufflers as opposed to having just 1 muffler, we're able to get a cleaner, more throaty sound that's more performance sounding without affecting or hurting performance. And then it also allows the Helmholtz resonator to do a lot better job of getting rid of the drone.
Well, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to listen to it. Here's how it sounded when it was stopped. And now let's take a listen to see what Dirty Deeds Industries can do for the sound of this truck. Of course, it sounds great when you rev it in the studio, but the proof is in the pudding here, Keith. Let's see what happens when we hit the loud pedal out here on the street. Oh, I love it. Nice and throaty, but not too obnoxious. That's perfect. And when you get on the highway, of course, nice and civilized, so nobody has a headache from a long drive.
Yes, sir.
I love it. You're going to love it too. Check them out at dirtydeedsindustries.com. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by Top Coat right after this. Hang on.
Motorhead Garage, presented by Top Coat, coming to you from Borla Commerce Park.
You know, classic cars like this 1970 Chevelle SS sure conjure up great memories of stepping on the gas, driving down the road, listening to our favorite tunes. And guess what? When you get in one of these again after a number of years, the reality isn't quite like the memory was. These cars don't handle as well as you remember, and that's why a lot of folks are doing resto mods, you know, restoring everything underneath, all the suspension, the chassis, and that sort of thing. And that is also why folks are looking for an upgrade on their sound system. Remember, in these days, you were riding around listening to AM radio on what basically amounted to be a clock radio, an old radio head unit in the car and a little tiny speaker up on the dashboard, and that's all we had. Technology has evolved a ton. And that is where Custom Autosound steps in, because they're able to bring you Bluetooth technology and all the modern conveniences you'd have in a stereo today that you would want in any new car. The great thing about it is it's not going to spoil the integrity and the good looks of your classic car, so no one will even know that you have the system. Now, when you go to Custom Autosound's website, you wonder, okay, are these guys just doing it for the looks, or how rugged are these stereos really? Guess what? They have a temperature aging test they've put everything through, so you consider the heat cycles of your car parked in a parking lot or under the sun, and these things will stand up to it. The extreme temperature test does the same thing. There's also a vibration test because, of course, these are muscle cars, and you don't want to shake and rattle these things loose. Let's talk about vehicles. You're looking for something that'll fit your car. Well, I count about 18 different makes of cars that they make custom stereos for. But Custom Autosound makes stereos for over 400 different individual models. And if you cannot find one that will fit your vehicle, guess what? They have a couple of universal radios as well. One in particular looks just like one would look from the late 1960s or early 70s. And this is the one I really like. It's called the Secret Audio Radio. And that's when you're looking for kind of some stealth technology. It's equipped with Bluetooth, so you can stream your favorite tunes. And it's hands-free, so you can use your cell phone while you're cruising down the road. Cool thing about it is it hides under your seat and it leaves your dash unspoiled. You can even leave the original stereo in place when you're using the Secret Audio Radio. When you go to Custom Autosound's website, you can also see all the accessories they have to offer: CD, DVD players, noise filters, antennas, that sort of thing. And you can also see their line of speakers. Now, there are custom fit speakers for tons of different models. Kenwood speakers, even dual speakers, kick panels that'll go in the kick panel of your car, depending on where you want to put that sound, depending on the model of your car. There's also special speaker panels for Volkswagens and for old Thunderbirds as well that'll fit the original look of those cars. Now, if there isn't something that is custom, just like with the stereo units, when you're talking speakers, you can check out their universal speakers. They have them in lots of different sizes. There's also a couple of undercover ones that'll slide under your seat. No one will ever know that you have them. And the one we want to talk about today is the System 1 Amplified. We've got that system. We've got a couple of speakers that go in. We'll show you how that works. We're going to install them here on our Chevelle. Now we've chosen to install the system here under the passenger seat of our Chevelle, and of course if you want to put it in the trunk or under the driver's seat, anywhere you want, Custom Autosound's equipment can be very flexible, and that's what we love about them. In fact, this comes with some legs that you can put on it, some rubber feet, and that'll keep it from vibrating, that'll keep it from moving around. Still going to be super solid and super simple to hook up. So we'll show you here, we've got 3 power cables. Well, here's the ground, and it's just a simple matter of hooking up just a few wires and we are going to be ready to go. Just a reminder, if you're working on anything electrical, you want to be sure to disconnect the battery first because electrical is always kind of finicky. And finally here we've got the keyed power in the blue wire, and here is the hot red. Now this red wire has an inline fuse, and we've installed that next to the battery. The battery in this vehicle is in the trunk, but here's what that inline fuse looks like. Fuse right inside there, and that'll give you some extra protection in case you have an issue. Now just a couple more wires to go. Here's our speaker wire. This is a 2-channel amplifier, and any other speakers you have on your system will be amplified along with the subwoofer. We have a couple of the bullet speakers from Custom Autosound. Now those are great looking speakers. They're period correct, so they look like old-timey vents. You can put them in the dash, you can put them in the kick panel. We've elected to put them back here on the armrest in the back seat, and they look great, and it looks like they came with the car. So you're gonna love that look, and you're gonna love the sound. 2 more cables to go. We have the RCA cables coming from the stereo, that's your input. And finally, 1 more cable. It'll actually go here on the other side. It's like a telephone cable, and it attaches at the other end to your remote. You can put that anywhere you want, and you can control the level of bass that you're getting in your car, whether you want to kick your passenger's butt or just keep it nice and subtle. However you want it. Custom Autosound is just that. It's custom, and it's you can modify it to your tastes, whether it's from looks or the sound. Check them out on their website because they probably have something made specifically for your vehicle, and if they don't, they have a universal one that's going to look and sound great. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by Top Coat right after this.
Motorhead Garage, presented by Top Coat, is brought to you by Stage 8 Fasteners, home of the world's best locking header bolt. Locking kits now available for all turbo applications. Go to stage8.com. Route 66 Customs, built to drive, built to last, built to love. Clamp Tight, the clamp making tool. And by NH Oil Undercoating, the official oil-based rust prevention system.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage presented by Top Coat. All right, I've got one for you. A nuclear scientist, a college instructor, and a defense contractor walk into a television studio. All right, it's not a joke, it actually just happened. This is Pasha Rudenko, and he is with Tribotex. It's something you're gonna love. Tell us what it is.
So Tribotex, it's a result of my PhD work at Washington State University that based on nanotechnology, and we call it dumbest possible artificial intelligence. Let me break it down for you. If you would say in the future had a nanobot and you would tell that nanobot to go swim in the engine and fix, let's say, play in the bearing, what the nanobot would do? It would grab a small amount of material, swim into the engine, attach it to a surface, swim back and repeat, right? We did exactly just that, but with as little of intelligence as possible. Let me explain how it is. So we made flat nanoparticles that have chemically and functionally different sides. One side is sticky and another is slippery. So when the nanoparticles attach to the surface, they only attach by sticky side and expose slippery side. So sticky side reinforces the surface and strengthen it, and slippery side protect it from the future damage. And interestingly enough, when many of those particles attach particle by particle, they're going to attach in random pattern, forming porous structure. And that porous structure is thick enough to compensate for the wear that was accumulated for decades of the functioning of the mechanism. So we used that technology and simplified it for the everyday consumer to be used in engines, gearboxes, power steering pumps, rear differentials, front differentials, all kinds of the mechanisms that are lubricated by the regular lubricants that over time wear out, that need some attention. That is what we brought.
Now, when you set out to do this, you weren't setting out to research engines and that sort of thing. How did you discover this technology?
We went into a completely different thing. We started from the hip implants, and then we learned that industrial applications would be really good, wind turbines, space applications. Essentially, NASA just recently put a wonderful article about us in the Spin-Off magazine. And we thought for the long time that this technology is going to be just too expensive for the regular consumer to really use it. You know, nanomaterial is expensive to make. You need substantial quantity to really show the difference. So we went and asked several government agencies, would you be interested in us bringing this technology to the market? And National Science Foundation funded us to build the production capacity. And after that, you know, we had a lot of the material, but we didn't have customers. So we decided, how are we gonna bring it to the market? We put it on Kickstarter, then on Indiegogo, blow out our initial goals, and then Amazon, eBay. Now we bring it to retailers. So we just happy with the results.
All right, so the Air Force uses Tribotex and big industry uses this. What can Tribotex do for me on my little car at home?
Every car over time wears out, and spherical bearings become elliptical at times. So you get little play and you hear it as an extra noise. So when this noise happens, the more particles can get delivered into that little gap, and they build a layer particle by particle, so your bearings effectively shrink. So you rebuild engine without disassembly, just with the syringe of Tribotex. That's one part of it. But that coating is not just thick and protective. It is also more lubricious than the material was before. So the bearing become more efficient. That reduces heat and reduces a little bit fuel consumption. Overall, those benefits are very useful for everyone who can keep their car longer and retain efficiency over long term.
How quickly am I going to notice the results once I put Tribotex in?
That's a very good question. The first difference in noise you will hear about 15 minutes in, and we want you to wait for those 15 minutes so the material gets dispersed over time pretty well. But the real benefits happens when the cylinders and rings get coated, and this is just slow splash lubrication within the motor, so it takes longer. It takes about 10 motor hours, and we call it about 500 miles. So when those got coated, then you start realizing benefits of better fuel consumption and lower heat rejection into coolant. So the temperature of engine goes down again by a little bit.
Well, if you want to see more, you can check them out on their website at tribotex.com. Pasha, we thank you for being here. We thank you for joining us from your living room. This has been Motorhead Garage presented by Top Coat. We're going to do it again next week. In the meantime, if you know of something you'd like to see on the show, be sure to email Jeff at masterstv.com. So until next time, from our entire crew here, we will see you later.